Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
A very warm welcome in the second module of week 4 of the course Roadmap for Patent Creation titled Patentability Tool. In the last module, we have seen IP identification tool. IP identification tool helps you to plan the research or project activity in such a way that there will be minimum chances of missing out of any potential patent. The tool helps you to identify that potential patent. Now, in this module, we will go through patentability tool. We will see in detail how exactly anyone can judge whether the invention under consideration fulfills or satisfies the criteria for the patent. So, let us check what is this patentability tool is. The patentability tool will concentrate on a single invention disclosure or technology domain, and it will help to check out whether the invention under consideration is patentable or not. The first step is that you have to check whether your invention or the invention disclosure under consideration falls under discovery category. So, first step is to check whether that invention under consideration is a discovery or whether it is an invention as per the Patent Act, because discoveries cannot be patented. So, what is the discovery? It is exploring the existing knowledge or discovering the natural phenomena. So, for example, if you discover some microorganism or if you discover some planet, or if somebody is from chemical engineering or chemistry background and if he or she discovers some elements which is already present in the nature, that thing will not be patentable. You can give your name to that element or you can give the name to the microorganism or planet you have discovered, but you will not get patent for it because something already existing is just explored through research and hence it is a discovery. So, discoveries are not patentable. However, genetically modified microorganisms can be patentable provided certain conditions are fulfilled. We will not go in a detail of that, but we will remember that the human intervention component is important when we are considering such genetically modified microorganisms. So, thus the first step is to check or identify whether the invention under consideration is a discovery or whether it is an invention. What is invention? We have already seen that thing. What is inventive step? So, to check whether we have that inventive step, you have to check whether invention under consideration follows certain criteria, that is utility, non-obviousness, stability, all these details we have seen in earlier module. Before going into the details of that, we will check the other important thing, and that is nothing but the confidentiality aspect of your invention. To check this confidentiality aspect, you will ask a few questions. Which are these questions? Whether my invention is known to public, whether I have discussed this invention in some meeting, or whether I have discussed with my colleagues, and if there is a possibility that if the information is spread among my colleagues or in my community, whether it is a spread. Many times due to ignorance or excitement or due to the very promising results when come, researcher may share that research outcome with someone and that will result in the spread of the invention. So, because of this the invention becomes it enters into the public domain and then it will not follow the criteria of the patent. Then the other reasons may be that you have published the invention in the research paper. Thus, you yourself have published the information through the research publication. Then the next may be that you have presented a paper in the conference. Thus, again you yourself have published the information. Other possibility is that you have given lecture or session, and in that session you have shared your research. So, again you yourself have published the information in the public domain. Then one more possibility is a participations in the exhibition. So, for example, suppose within college if there is any exhibition or a poster presentation or something like the exhibition is there or some program is there, and in this you have presented your invention. Then again you yourself have published the information, you yourself has shared the information with the public. Then another mistake most of the time students do, that they present their ideas or research in the contest. Many organizers offer big prizes for idea generation related contests. Many times participants share their ideas or research in such contests, and this way they themselves publish the information and make it available in the public. Then many times inventor participate in trade related exhibition, and there they disclose the invention. Thus, in this way the inventor himself publish the information in public and make it available in the that community. So, these meetings, discussions, conferences, research publications, lecturing, science exhibition, contests, trade related exhibition, all these things, there is a possibility that through these channels you yourself make your invention public, and thus you yourself will hamper your invention and you will not able to patent that invention, because we know the first to file rule. So, these are the reasons because of which your invention is now in the public. So, you have to avoid that kind of any kind of that activity which makes your invention available into the public. As per rule, first to file invention, if comes into the public domain, it automatically disqualifies for the patent filing. So, before doing any of the activity which is mentioned above, you should file the patent, at least a provisional patent, and then you can publish or make it available into the public domain. So, you have checked these two things, that is that whether it is a discovery or it is an invention, and second whether invention is a confidential and whether you have followed the confidentiality guidelines or not. Okay. So, you have passed that first two stages. The next is to check three important criteria of patentability, that is industrial application, non-obviousness and stability of the invention. Stability is one of the criteria which may be considered, and then there is that novelty criterion. So, first thing, industrial application. So, sometimes what happens that you have designed some machine or some nice process or product, but it is not having a industrial application, then you cannot consider this for patent. So, it should be something which will be helpful to industry to develop some output or some process, some product, something should be there. So, if you are asking that question and then answer is yes, my invention is related to something, it is what it is giving some product or it is giving some process, and thus it is qualifying the criteria of industrial application, then you have to think of that industry. So, first you will think, first you will check whether there is an industrial application. Once you are sure that okay, there is an industrial application, then you can think of in which industry that invention is applicable, whether it is a food industry, whether it is automobile industry, pharma industry, chemical industry, it is related to some construction, so civil engineering related, so whatever it may be. So, you have to just check out in which industry your invention is applicable. So, you have to find out that core industrial sector, and then the next step will be that you do that if you can identify the focus area within that sector. So, first you will check whether it is an industrial application, then you are going to check which is that sector, and after that sector you are again focusing the area, and then you are what we can say identifying that it is a particular sector or particular domain within that or the broad what we can say industrial sector. Why this is important? One such criteria you have to satisfy that industrial application or utility, that is fine. But second thing is that This information will be very helpful when you communicate with the patent attorney. Thus, such clarity of industrial application is very important, and you should note down all these things in your lab notebook, because this will be very useful for you to communicate with a patent attorney, because you are communicating with a patent attorney maybe after 2 years or 3 years of your research, and so it is always better that you should note down all these things in the lab notebook. So, how to communicate with patent attorney? We have dedicated one module for that, related to that. So, we will see the details in that module. Now, here you should just understand that you have checked industrial applicability, you have identified that industry, and then within industry you have checked down or you have chalked down that in this particular domain my invention is applicable. Now, here just identify that industry and you have to just check out that. So, you have done that industry and then domain, you have everything you have done. Now, the next is a non-obviousness. So, we have to check that inventive step. We know that it should not be obvious to the person who is skilled in the art, that Fosita thing. And then if the person who is skilled in the art, if he feels that the invention is obvious, then you are not fulfilling this criteria. So, the simple question or simple test is that you just think that whether my colleague is able to develop this invention without much efforts. Only one question you can ask, that anybody who is working in that domain, whether he is able to develop this thing and how much efforts he has to put to develop that particular invention. Now, if answer is that yes, so much efforts he has to put, then you are fulfilling that non-obviousness criteria, because for output, for that output, the person has to put much efforts and then only that output has arrived. Okay. So, you will say that it is not obvious when your colleague has to put much efforts to bring that output. So, you have checked that non-obviousness criteria. Then the two important things also you can check, that is a economic importance and a technical advancement. So, we have already seen this in earlier module, that if there is a change in the economic importance and if you could mention that thing, and obviously the technical advancement, or both should be there. So, if that kind of thing is there, again you are fulfilling the non-obviousness criteria. The next is a novelty. So, we have seen that stability, non-obviousness and industrial application. Now, the novelty aspect. Before going into the novelty, I will just touch base upon that stability factor. So, the question is that whether my invention gives a stable result or a same result every time I perform that particular activity. Many times what happens, suppose you are working with microorganisms. As we have seen that microorganisms are patentable if there is any human intervention. Now, there are obviously few rules regarding that and a few conditions in the Patent Act. If all these things are followed, then obviously the microorganisms will be patent and that culture has to be deposited in the depository. So, to understand the stability, we have to check if that culture exhibits same property every time. So, then we can say that that characteristic is a stable for which the inventor is seeking he is claiming that patent. So, for example, that microorganism is giving the product like hormone or any enzyme is produced from the microorganism, and this microorganism as per rule you have deposited into the depository. So, somebody if he takes that microorganism and then he tries to develop that enzyme or hormone, he should able to get that product when he will use that microorganism through the specific process which is mentioned in the patent. So, that is the stability of that what we can say the microorganism, he is giving that same result. Similarly, if there is any machine or if there is any process you have developed and that machine, it should give the stable output. So, if that machine is giving x number as output today and if it is not giving x minus 10, then it is not acceptable. So, that machine should give whatever the output is there, that performance should be constant every time, and then only we can say that this is a machine which you can consider for the patent. So, this is one of the criteria, but obviously industrial application, non-obviousness, novelty, these are the primary very important criteria. Stability is one more aspect, you can check that thing. So, whatever outcome comes from first and then say 10th in the machine case, the result must be the same. So, non-obviousness with industrial applicability providing a stable output. The next is a novelty. And what is that meaning of novelty? We have seen that thing earlier, right. So, we check that novelty aspect through a thorough literature and a patent search. Literature will include books, research papers, articles, etc. Then once you go through that all that books, that research papers, articles, then you have to check with the traditional knowledge. If anything related to traditional knowledge is not incorporated in the invention under consideration. So, how you will check that thing, whether there is any source for traditional knowledge. So, nowadays TKDL library or TKDL database is available, it is a public database which is available online. So, you can check through that database that whether your invention is not including the traditional knowledge. So, then you should also check that if there is anything which is practiced in the community. So, okay, that TKDL library you have checked, that is one what we can say stage you have completed. Now, the next is that you have to check in the community if from one generation to other generation, if that information is passed and there is a possibility that that information is not recorded. So, you have to check that information also to confirm that novelty aspect. Then you have to check the obviously that newspaper articles and any other resources which are available. Then spatial search also you can do. What that spatial search is? Here suppose you are working in a chemistry domain, then there is a Markush database available. So, you can explore that Markush database and you can check that okay, if the structure which I am thinking for a patent, whether it is already present in that database or what we can say I am not infringing that thing. So, you should check that thing in the first place only. So, that is one of the source for a chemical what we can say structures and all that things, that database is available. So, again you can check for the gene sequence related or amino acid related database also you can check if you are dealing with that domain. Okay. Then for the patent you can also use obviously when you are doing that search for the for a patent literatures you are looking into, then you can go for a free databases you can check. That free data may be Google patent database, then USPTO will be there, eSpaceNet will be there, and then obviously along with this free databases there are paid databases like Derwent Innovation, Relicula, STN, PadBase, and there are so Quissel Orbit, and there are so many paid databases are there. So, for patent you have the free as well as what we can say the paid databases available for you, and you can just do the search through these databases. So, we have dedicated one module on the patent databases, how you can explore this free databases. So, that will help you to do this novelty check. Now, then you have to check the efficiency now. So, whether my invention is increasing the efficiency of the operation substantially, that substantially is very important. Any minor changes it may not be considered for patent, because we have to as per the Patent Act you have to give that substantial output or substantial change in the efficiency should be there. And then the next is a technical advancement, and then it may be and then that economic benefit, technical advancement, efficiency check, that you have to check. Okay. Now, this efficiency is increased, then you can consider that okay, you can consider this invention for the patent application. So, it is always better if you can express that change in efficiency in percentage. So, suppose there is a 60% increase or 70% increase from the whatever that current output is say x, and whatever output because of your invented process is 60% more. And if it is possible for you to predict that way or put into that percentage, then again that is a good thing. So, if prior art is showing output X and your invention is providing 70%, definitely you can consider your invention for a patent. Then you might have changed the process or changed the arrangement in the machine, whatever it may you have done, and because of that efficiency is changed. So, if there are any minor changes and because of that minor changes, if there is change in the efficiency, then that also you can consider for the patent. So, you should not think in the way that okay, this is a very minor change and this minor change whether it will be considered for patent, but you have to check output. Though minor change, if output is substantial, this can be considered for the patent application. Okay. Now, you have checked the utility aspect of that thing, that is industrial application you have already checked. So, now you have checked confidentiality, non-obviousness, novelty, stability and then utility, everything you have checked. Now, few more things you have to take into consideration, that if your invention is following the section 3 and section 4 of Indian Patents Act. So, section 3 of Indian Patent Act is about the inventions which are not patentable. So, we have dedicated one module on it, that is the inventions which are not patentable, and section 4 is related to that secrecy directions are there. So, we have to check if that invention is not, that it is following all the criterias which are mentioned in the section 3, section 4 and it is not violating the any of the section. Now, so once you do all this thing, that is a confidentiality, non-obviousness, novelty, stability, utility, and then you have also taken care of that section 3 and section 4. So, in short, you have just checked everything related to the invention under consideration and you have started from whether my invention is a discovery or it is an invention, then you have checked confidentiality, then you have checked the patentability criteria including the stability and then the Patent Act related specific sections, that is that section 4 and section 3. Now, you have done all these things and then you are now sure that okay, I can consider my invention for a patent. So, this way when you systematically follow these steps mentioned in the patentability tool, you will be sure that my patent can be considered for the patent application. So, this is all about the patentability tool. Now, in the next session we will see IP audit framework. See you in the next session. Thank you.
This video is sponsored by Dashlane. Conveniently store your passwords and get 10% off with the link in the description. In 1997, a guy named Jeffrey Bezos filed US Patent 5960411A, a method for ordering items over the internet. Here's what it is. Instead of adding an item to your shopping cart and then clicking buy, you'd just click buy. That's the whole patent. It's so comically vague because that's what makes intellectual property so powerful. The wider the description, the easier it is to enforce. Just listen to this one. An apparatus for use as a toy by an animal, for example a dog, to either fetch, carry, or chew, includes a main section with at least one protrusion extending therefrom that resembles a branch. That, my friend, is a stick. Both of these are ridiculously broad, but unfortunately, that's not uncommon. What is unique about Amazon's one-click patent is that they actually use it. Usually, these are filed by non-practicing entities, companies that own intellectual property but don't do anything with it. Instead, they make money by suing anyone and everyone. These two graphs tell the story. First, this is the amount of patent-related litigation from normal practicing companies. Year after year, the number stays pretty much the same. And here are the trolls. Not only are they way more common, but they've rapidly increased in just a few years' time. And second, roughly 87% of troll lawsuits settle before trial. In other words, patent trolls are very common and very good at what they do. Their strategy is fairly simple. File or buy as many and as broad of patents as possible, and then find people to sue. Both they and the other company know the cost of going to trial, hundreds of thousands or usually millions of dollars. So unless both parties are really confident, they make a deal. The company pays the troll just to leave them alone, who, by the way, now has even more resources to threaten even more lawsuits. You don't need much intellectual property to see how this is a broken system, but the problem is actually much worse than that.